Hello and welcome to Moneylife. This is Sucheta Dalal. So Mumbai is all set to vote after 4 long years on 15th of Jan. And the discussion, if you look at the front page ads, is all about the infrastructure that has been built by the ruling coalition. In fact, on the one hand, the triple engine government is promoting a set of modern infrastructure achievements designed to improve the quality of life of Mumbaikars. Has it really improved their life? They're talking about high speed expressways to underground metros. On the other hand, there is a parallel reality. And I'm not even talking about things we discussed in the past about encroachments or whatever. Also, there is this move to privatize and monetize public land while maintaining strategic silence on what doesn't work for us, including bad air, mindless traffic, encroached pavements, and above all, the issue that I'm going to discuss this time, which is one key example, which is the National Highway 66, or rather, that portion of the National Highway from Bombay to Goa, which is the vital 490-kilometer artery which is connecting Mumbai, the financial capital of the country, to the tourism hub of Goa, with a series of picturesque beach towns on the way, which could develop and benefit so much from tourism. But is that happening? Believe it or not, despite being under construction for nearly 2 decades, this project remains partially completed. If that weren't bad enough, it is like a challenge to the government's narrative of efficient development and how good they are at giving us world class infrastructure. In fact, let's go back into the history of how this started. This was good old NH17, right? A two-lane highway, beautiful road. I have actually driven on it to Goa. They decided to convert it into partly 4 lanes and partly 6 lane corridors because traffic was increasing. This happened way before this government in 1998. Major work commenced only in 2005. Now start counting the numbers. 2 decades. Okay. The real change we are talking about is from 2014 because after that it was rebranded. So instead of NH17, they called it NH66. You can Google to find out why NH66, but it was supposed to extend all the way to the southern tip of India. It has remained a work in progress. I'm not talking about 2005 onwards, a shame even then, but even 2014 to 26 is another 10, 11 years. Persistent delays have transformed the highway into a monument to bureaucratic inertia, systemic failure, and all of this. Those people who are in charge, the government, remain unmoved by public interest litigation. Yes, people have complained. There have been repeated strictures from the courts, the Bombay High Court, but nothing makes a difference. The failure to complete NH66 stands in stark contrast to all the boasts about execution of other projects. And we are not going to go into granular details about them, but much faster, in less than 5 years, they built the 701-kilometer Mumbai-Nagpur Expressway, which is called the Samruddhi Mahamarg. They built the Atal Setu, which was pending for 40 odd years, the Trans Harbour Link, and they have built a coastal road. They're extending the coastal road to Warsaw. They've built an underground, and this one highway, NH66, going to connect all kinds of temple towns, cannot be completed. Isn't that amazing? Now, the government hardly accepts any wrongdoing, right? So they told Parliament that 89% of the highway is complete. However, those on the ground have horror stories about how it is for women, children, pregnant women, people who are completely fit, probably getting spondylitis. So the lived experience of local residents and any motorist who tries to navigate this highway is vastly different. Instead of fostering economic growth as was planned, creating tourism opportunities along the way, we are just focused on Mumbai and Pune, and this long road is languishing for 20 years, despite the scenic beaches that dot it all the way to Goa. In fact, we could have so much of tourism in Maharashtra. You know what happens over the weekends. But so what do we have? We have an incomplete highway dotted with potholes, incomplete bridges, sudden craters, and sudden poorly planned diversions. That's not all. The human cost of all this is chilling. Data sourced through RTI reveals that there were 1,125 deaths in Raigad and another 944 in Ratnagiri in the period 2011 to 2025 alone. And these are casualties, deaths. They do not include unreported injuries, where there's just an accident, you're hurt, but you don't bother to file a case, people who have suffered permanent disabilities. And remember, all these impose significant costs, medical bills, and emotional burden on the people who are their victims. But who cares, right? Well, somebody did care. This is a young engineer called Chaitanya Patil. He did something unusual. He decided that this Kafka's saga has to be documented. And this delay, where they said 89% is complete, has to be exposed. So Chaitanya Usha Lakshman Patil, a 31-year-old electronics engineer from Pen Taluka, decided on a radical form of protest. He said he would do a Rasta Satyagraha. What does it mean? He wore a board and he walked the distance over 29 days. There were some gaps due to hardship, rain, whatever, but his objective was simple. It was to move beyond bureaucratic reports and claims to the government and record on the ground the daily encounters of NH66 users and bring it to public attention. So, his stated aim, as he says, is to record what a motorist encounters daily, but of what often remains diluted or invisible when converted into files and papers of the government. So, he, armed with a smartphone with GPS tools, he started his Rasta Satyagraha and walked from Mumbai to Goa. Some friends supported him, occasionally had a card where he kept his stuff, but he meticulously mapped, tagged, and documented the entire road and identified 59 critical hazards or systemic failures. Some of these were on the very stretches where the government said the work was complete. He then started posting them on his Twitter handle, Chaitanya Patil, on X, and offered specific solutions. So he is not just critical. He says, I'm doing all this in national interest. I'm doing it for the people of my taluka, my village who are suffering, and I want the nation to have a highway that we are proud of. So apart from pointing out what hasn't worked, he has taken everybody along and suggested solutions. Meticulous documentation has been submitted to various authorities, including the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways, the National Highway Authority of India, the Disaster Management Authority, because all of them are linked to this. It's also in the public domain for any of you who want to see it, and we are putting out a QR code here. Take a look at it. We'll put it also in the comments, and you can go and look at all his documentation in a series of PDF files. Now, what has he mapped? He has categorized the failures into 4 areas: poor construction, safety lapses, mismanagement of drainage, and ecological damage. So let's look at them one by one. Construction lapses. So his audit revealed abysmal construction quality, which was evident in the form of premature cracking of the roads, deep potholes that appear within months of completion. What does it show? Lack of foundational strength, and it suggests potential corruption in material procurement. Because why else will you not construct to the quality that is specified? Remember, every tender is very detailed. There are quality checks. Obviously, all this is not happening. The only reason can be corruption. So he has documented how smooth roads suddenly transition into pothole-ridden death traps, forcing drivers to brake suddenly and risk accidents. Here's a video.
नमस्कार. आज रस्ता सत्याग्रहाचा 15वा दिवस आणि आता सध्याला मी आहे परशुराम घाटामध्ये आणि माझ्यासोबत आहे निखिल पवार, ज्यांनी इथली याच्यावरती सर्वाधिक जास्त काम सामाजिक काम करत असतोय आणि त्यांनी वारंवार प्रशासनाला देखील याच्याबद्दल कळवलेलं आहे की कशा पद्धतीचे तुम्ही केलेले बंधारे आहेत, कशा पद्धतीने तुम्ही केलेल्या ज्या भिंती आहेत. आणि तुम्ही पाहू शकताय हा परशुराम घाटाची जे काय त्यांनी आता जाळी वगैरे लावलेलं त्याच्याने आता दरडी कोसळणं यावर्षी थांबलेलं आहे. पण याच्यापूर्वी बऱ्याच गोष्टी घडलेल्या आहेत. आपण घडल्यानंतर त्यांना जाग येते, त्याच्यानंतर आता तुम्ही बघू शकता की पाण्यापासून वाचवण्यासाठी कशा पद्धतीचा प्लास्टिक आणलेला आहे. कोकणामध्ये पडतो तो प्रचंड पाऊस आणि प्रचंड पावसाळ्यासाठी ड्रेनेजची सिस्टम कशा पद्धतीची असावी ती तुम्ही बघा. 2025 चालू आहे, हे समोर बघा. आणि या ड्रेनेजच्या दुकार कामांमुळे जे काय पुढे पडलेलं भगदाड आहे ना, भगदाड, हे बघा पुढं बघा, त्याची माती आणि कशी ती केलेले जे पैसे आहेत किंवा जनतेच्या पैशांचा जो झालेला चुरांडा आहे ना, तो बघा इकडे बघा. अशाच पद्धतीचं काम सुरू आहे ना, तरी काय होणार का, जेव्हापासून काम सुरू आहे इथल्या नागरिकांना किती त्रास सहन करावा लागेल, तर त्याच लेननी प्रवास करावा लागतो. आज किती वर्ष झाली मुंबई गोवा हायवे बनतोय आणि अजून देखील त्याची परिस्थिती तुम्ही पहा. प्लास्टिकनी ते ड्रेनेज घेतलं जातं. तिकडे बघा तो पाईप दाखवत होता, पाणी वरून जे येतं ना डोंगराचं, ते या प्लास्टिकने केलं जात आहे. संबंधितांना विनंती आहे, कृपया ह्याच्यावरती सर्व लक्ष द्या आणि जनतेने जागा व्हा. सर्वजणांनी जनता जागा झाली तरच सर्व शक्य गोष्टी आहेत. धन्यवाद. जय हिंद, जय महाराष्ट्र.
Let's come next to safety lapses and design errors. So he reveals missing or illegible signboards. Signboards is a problem in India. We just cannot seem to follow international norms. We do our own jugaad, use our own brains when there are global standards for signage, but we don't use them. It's the same on this highway. It's the same on every major infrastructure, however much they boast about it. Non-existent reflectors, unsafe diversions, improperly installed speed breakers which act as death traps. In fact, one revelation of his was significant engineering error where they placed a speed breaker on a downhill slope in the Ghat region. I mean, this is just crying out for your vehicle to jump and for you to brake suddenly and cause an accident. Then there are pedestrian crossings that are missing, no underpasses near village junctions, which forced local residents to risk their lives by crossing high speed lanes. This is not how highways are built. You build over bridges or underpasses and you first look at safety, you ensure cattle doesn't come. This is standard. Remember, we built the Mumbai Pune Expressway in 1998 when this was thought about, and we can't get it right in 2026. Now let's come to drainage mismanagement. Effective drainage is critical for road safety. Yet, Chaitanya observed long stretches of the highway with poorly constructed drainage. The result, and of course, unauthorized median openings. Median is a divider, right? So there is water logging around here on the main carriageway, which can create the risk of hydroplaning, which means that your car, when it comes onto this water surface, can even spin if it's traveling fast. In fact, he's noted in Parshuram Ghat, a high rainfall area, where this poor drainage is causing landslides. Then there is the ecological cost and disaster preparedness. That's why he talked to the Disaster Management Agency. As always, they cut thousands of trees for this expansion. As always, the promise was we will replant everything and restore the green cover. Chaitanya's audit has confirmed the glaring absence of replanting, leading to increased temperatures and dust pollution. Compound this environmental problem with lack of essential disaster management infrastructure. It's an expressway. You need first aid, you need emergency treatment centers, ambulances. None of this exists because it's not even complete, right? In every other highway, including the Mumbai-Nagpur area, you still don't have toilets that work, long stretches where you don't even have petrol or restaurants. Why would this be different? It's not even complete for 20 years. It'll go on forever. So what was the response to all this posting? Remember, all of us retweeted it, got a lot of support, others chipped in with their own experience. So finally, last month, December 2025, the Ministry of Road Transport acknowledged Chaitanya's report and instructed state officials to submit point-wise action taken reports. Now, what happens to this point-wise stuff? They rush there and put a band-aid, sloppy patch-up of that particular pothole, which is geo-tagged and put on social media. That is not what is required. You need structural issues to be handled in a holistic manner, which they are not doing. So over time, like I said, Chaitanya's posts have got amplified. Moneylife itself has written a 4-part report. Other journalists have talked about this. In fact, in order to draw attention to what he has done. Moneylife Foundation, along with well-known activist Anjali Damania and the Mumbai Press Club, decided to felicitate him and understand and hear from him what he went through, what was involved in this hard, long walk to bring to public attention, to bring to the government's attention that they need to complete this highway. So the question now is, he's done the hard work. Will it give results? Historically, in India, things have happened only when there is a snowballing of public interest and there are public protests. Unfortunately, those are very, very few. But when it happens, it works. So you had the Aravalli Hills issue, where a Supreme Court judgment led to what was likely to be ecological destruction. People came on the streets, and the Supreme Court itself had to review its own decision and stay its earlier order, which was based on bureaucratic technical reports. Then there is the Goa Mulam forest in 2021. The Goencho Awaz organization protested, got public support, and it resulted in partial success. So there was a halt and a review of three major infrastructure projects. There was similar protest in 2019, where the allegation was corruption at the Bangalore Steel Bridge. It led to the scrapping of this 2000 crore project. Then there was another project in Assam, the Lower Subansiri hydroelectric project. Again, there was a moratorium on construction. These are the few four successes, and I'm going back to 2011. Sad reality of India. Other than this, since people can't always take to the streets, they sign petitions. So there have been online petitions. There's been one on the cost escalation in the Bangalore Tunnel project. There's been one in Silchar, Assam over NH37, which sounds similar to NH66, severe traffic jams. Similar protests have erupted from time to time, leads to quick fixes. But that's not what we want. Like I said, 6. These are too few. What is different this time is it's not a general protest, it's very, very specific. So Chaitanya's Rasta Satyagraha has led to meticulous documentation backed with photographic evidence and geo-tagging, an exercise that's completely independent of any political gamesmanship. This is not about opposition parties. This is about a citizen of India wanting things fixed. So will the Kafkaesque nightmare, which is NH66, get fixed? It's easy to do it if there is a political will. What is needed is clear to everyone, has been outlined by Chaitanya. You need structural audits. You need enforcement of defect liability on contractors. Yes, that is written into contracts. Third-party quality inspections have to happen. Yes, that is why we say there is corruption, because why is it not happening over here? And routine inspections have to happen to ensure drainage design, signage, and other things which don't seem to be happening at all. And that can only happen because of corruption and political interference. It also requires integration of disaster protocols and accident mitigation services, which is again basic to any highway anywhere in the world. And we want to call ourselves Viksit. So regular monitoring, preventive action, and mitigation is basic. The solutions are clear. The fundamental problem affecting NH66 is the lack of accountability, and I repeat, due to large-scale corruption and political connivance. The sad reality of India is that change will not happen due to a Rasta Satyagraha alone, though it is basic and minimum, the tool that is required. It needs to be escalated into public support, which can come through your online clicks or people coming on the ground. In this case, 20 years is long enough. Both should happen. That is why all of us need to support the work of Chaitanya Patil and ensure that we get this highway. If you're in Mumbai, it's important to you. If you're in Maharashtra, it is important to you. If you're an Indian, aren't we short of scenic destinations? You should just look at the beautiful coastline. So this is all about you. Let's all get together, support Chaitanya Patil, and make this happen. If you agree, share and subscribe. Thank you.